This is the Mattel WWE Ultimate Edition Great Muta. Right there it goes. So I'm just going to give it a quick unboxing and just show you what the figure is. And the full written review will be in the description at the bottom. So this is the Great Muta from the mid to late 80s or early 90s if you would have seen him in WCW. Somehow this gets him a WWE figure. I'm not quite sure how that worked out. Maybe because he was in their Hall of Fame. But just getting straight to the bat, taking an official measurement, he is more than 6 inches tall. I mean, he wasn't a small guy, certainly not by Japanese standards. But just a quick size comparison with a WWE Elite Ron Simmons. Just put that to the side. He's a little bit shorter, but not by a huge stretch. And comparison with a Storm Collectibles Jushin Liger. So, obviously because Storm Collectibles is a bigger scale, so he's a bit smaller. There's a nice amount of detail, I would say. You can see he's got the sort of trademark face paint with the kanji on it. Although it does look like there's a tiny break in the paint job. We can get that. So I'm not quite. I'll have to Google image search his face paint and see if that's correct. But the eyes are on target. Although maybe it's the light. I don't know. They look slightly green. He has a decent build. They've tempoed on his chest hair, which he did have. Which is, I mean, it's good to see the effort's been put in. And I think this style of chest hair works. But when you kind of do it like this, it looks like those little toys you used to get where you move the iron filings around with a magnet. I think it really quite makes the effects work, especially because it's a slightly like very dark grey as opposed to being a black. It looks darker on camera, but with my own human eye that I use, it kind of looks greyish. Also, it's an awful lot of seam marks, as you can see, look across down the shoulders. Down the shoulders there, across, and on the legs naturally. There's not a huge amount of detail needed because, you know, he didn't have an elaborate outfit, but something I should point out that they didn't just paint his taped up hands white, but you can actually see like the detail of the tape being wrapped on the fingers. So that's a good detail to include. Although the white on the sole of his shoes is a little sort of meh, not hugely impressive. But the lace detail is there. For articulation, the head fully rotates and tilts around a little bit. Obviously he's not going to tilt back any at all because of the mullet, but tilts forward. The arms rotate and they go the way out. Very smoothly, I should point out. Normally these figures have very, very stiff shoulder joints, but this is nice. And also there's a butterfly joint, so it can go a bit forward and quite a bit back actually, if we can see that. There's a swivel at the bicep. Nice full bend at the elbow, and the hands fully rotate and tilt up and down. You've got the ball jointed upper torso, rotation at the waist. The legs can raise forward, back a tiny bit, out to the side, and there's drop down hips, so if you want more clearance you can get that. So almost a full split, as well as a swivel at the top of the thigh and a full knee bend. The feet are a bit tricky because of the sculpt of the trousers here. They come quite down, so they don't really turn all that much. Like you can eventually, you have to really muscle them to get any sort of rotation. But they do have a decent amount of side to side. an okay amount, I would say, for considering what this is, as well as a toe bend. So there's that. I should point out, none of the joints here are stiff or as resistant as I normally get on WWE figures. Like normally you try to bring the leg all the way up and it will just sort of like come down on its own because of some sort of stiffness there, I don't know what. But this is actually very smooth and easy. Perhaps a bit too smooth and easy, dropped a light, because I can see this already. This is just out of the box, this is already getting a bit loose. Included with the figure are 2 alternate heads. You get this one here, where his tongue is stuck out to the side, and yes, his tongue is supposed to be black. Well, we'll get to that in a second, because that's obviously a sign of him spitting out the poison mist. So we'll just quickly see how easy it is to... Oh, yeah, comes off nice and simple. Just goes in a basic ball joint here. And just pops on very fine. You know, that's how he likes to symbolise that he's already spat out the poison mist. You know, a common thing he would do is use his taped fingers to stick into that dye he would spit out and try and like rub it in his opponent's eyes. Other head he would get is this one, where is the mist spitting face. You see the mouth is open but fully painted black, and the eyes are slightly closed to denote he's, you know, spraying it out. This is for his trademark poison mist effect, which will just... I'll very quickly change the head on. So even though you can't really see it, there is a very small peg hole in that open mouth, and that's for inserting this mist effect piece, which is a slightly translucent sort of what do you call it, almost a sea green, almost a teal, which is a bit odd because his tongue is black. It should be sort of the same colour really. It should be the green, because that was always like his most common type of mist that he spat at people. And it just very easily just sort of just holds in. And that's him spitting his mist, or I don't know, exhaling his vape. It's not very big, because normally he spits it out, like sprays right out, and like just completely covers the face and sometimes the chest as well of his opponent. So as an effects piece goes, it's a bit underwhelming, but at least they included it. Also included are 4 extra hands. You have 2 of the taped up left hands, no, right hands I mean. And there is a difference between the two. You can see one where it's just the index and middle finger pushed together, and here where it's slightly more splayed out. And you get 2 left hands. One is just a normal, just relaxed hand. The other is, I say, maybe finger pointing or a sort of come here gesture. And I should note that the entry pegs are pretty long, so you know, it should take some doing to break them. Okay, and there just adds a bit more, like I said, you know, when he would sometimes just, you know, stick those fingers in, so we could just then rub the poison in your face or right in your eyes directly. So I don't profess to have seen every Muta match, but I don't know, was he particularly well known for this hand gesture? I always knew him as doing the throat cut thing, which he can actually, thanks to that butterfly joint, he can do pretty easily, you know. We can just sort of get him in a fairly decent... Let's get him in some sort of dynamic pose. See how he just stands if we actually... Yeah, he stands okay, fairly solid. Let's try and like take advantage of the toe bend, see if that actually works. More often than not, I find they never do. yeah, already those hips are getting fairly loose. They're not really holding the weight. So that's something to consider. Also included is his entrance attire, which you would have seen back in the late 80s, early 90s. He has his headdress, which is made of a soft plastic, but does have enough detail on it and some paint apps. There's a nice sort of mesh detail on that silver part. Gold's a little bit off, but still where it's supposed to be. And you've got his entrance jacket, which is soft goods. Doesn't feel cheap or anything, feels quite nice. So we'll just put that on, just held in with Velcro. That opens up. We'll just, to make life easier on myself, I'm just going to pop the hands off. This is where that butterfly joint comes in handy. You can bring his arm all the way back much easier now to get that second sleeve in. So fair play to that. This is actually goes on nice and simple. We'll just bring that across to fasten. Correct, more or less. So let's quickly put the hands back in. And then place give it a bit of space. That Muta in his entrance gear. The headdress, because it does have to fit over his head, does look a little bit out of scale. It's a bit too big. I wouldn't say to a huge degree. But the jacket is nice. I like the top, so you can, because this is how we would come out on episodes of, the old NWA Jim Crockett promotions when Gary Hart was his manager. And if you can see through the gap, you can actually see that his eyes are, so it is, nice and even. So that's the full outfit. You can't say fairer than that, really. And the fact that there's even just a great Muta figure that you can just buy, you don't have to import, is something, impressive in and of itself. So it's a pretty decent figure on first impressions. But that is the Mattel Ultimate Edition Great Muta. Full review coming soon.